Please remember, the views expressed on Albertans in Space by our guests and hosts alike are opinions and do not represent the entire industry as a whole. Our podcast serves only as a platform, and all topics discussed are primarily for educational purposes only. Welcome to Albertans in Space, the series where we talk to Albertans making waves in the local and global space industry. In today's episode, Calgary to Space, we meet with Kaleigh Beer, president of Calgary to Space, a U of C student-led organization. They're preparing to launch their first student-built satellite in the fall of 2025, a first for Calgary. I'm your host, Zach Trolley.
And I'm the co-host and space raider, Megan Westelmajor. Hey, Zach, I don't tell satellite jokes anymore.
Well, why not?
They're always over your head and never land.
What?
Exactly.
Albertans in Space is filmed in the city of Calgary on Treaty 7 territory. This land, traditionally called Mohkinstsis, belongs to many nations and peoples who make their home here. We honor the traditions taught to us by our elders to acknowledge the generosity of Mother Earth and to take care of our land as humanity expands to new worlds. In our last episode, we spoke with Priya Mandavalan, the project manager of Alberta Sat at the U of A in Edmonton. Today, we have with us Kaleigh Beer, president of Calgary to Space CubeSat team from the University of Calgary. Now, did you know that Calgary's post-secondary institutions have been contributing to the space industry for over 50 years?
I'm starting to find out.
From assisting satellite missions, advancing space weather research, innovating space health technologies, and refining aviation technology.
It's so great to know there's growth in Calgary's space community.
When Canada's first satellite, the Alouette 1, began building at the Radio Physics Lab in 1962 in Ottawa, 6 SAIT graduates helped with the design and control. As the first Canadian spacecraft, Alouette 1 was an extreme engineering challenge. However, the 6 alumni were able to help incorporate 1960s cutting-edge technology into the satellite, such as transistors and solar cells. The spacecraft performed beyond expectations, produced over 1 million images of the ionosphere for over a decade.
I think the Alouette satellite kind of looks like a giant disco ball.
A little bit.
Yeah. I also automatically want to sing this French song when I hear mention of it. Alouette, gentille alouette, alouette, gentil plumeray. When it's translated to English, it's a bit strange, but I digress. What else has Calgary post-secondary institutions contributed to in the space community?
So in 1969, the CSA would launch the ISSIS program, which is another series of Canadian satellites also used to study the ionosphere and aurora borealis. The key technology advancement in those satellites were 2 optical sensors, including an auroral scanning photometer from the University of Calgary.
I saw the aurora borealis for the first time this year when I was driving along Highway 60 in Kananaskis, and I looked up and I saw the purples and the greens. Everyone was pulled over, and I safely pulled over and took some pictures that, kind of were out of this world. I never knew that they made the noise that they did too. It was kind of crazy.
So the aurora can make faint cracking and whooshing sounds, and these sounds are believed to be disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field caused by solar activity.
Another cool innovation coming from the U of C was discussed in episode 7 in season 1 with Dr. Shauna Pandya, who told us about the NeuroArm, which is a surgical robot based on Canadarm technology. It was a close collaboration by Canadian space engineering company MDA and University of Calgary physicians, nurses, and scientists. If you want to learn more about the NeuroArm, check out Shauna's episode. Link in show notes.
Calgary is doing so much in the space sector and has so much to offer, and so do the future graduates of the space research programs at the University of Calgary, specifically Calgary to Space.
These space students are putting Alberta on the map. These groups are giving them a place to develop hands-on experience in flight-proven hardware, fast-tracking their career options in the Canadian and international space sectors. But if we had our choice, they would stay right here and be a part of the growing space industry in Alberta.
Absolutely. Now, this association is more than just a club for students, and Kaleigh Beer is here to tell us why.
Kaleigh Beer graduated from Calgary Centennial High School in 2016, scoring high in all of her classes. She was awarded a medal for highest distinction amongst her classmates in English, mathematics, pre-engineering, and design studies. She was also recognized for outstanding achievement in Waterloo's Chem 13 news exam in chemistry. Her hard work earned her the opportunity to attend the Quantum School for Young Students, where she studied quantum cryptography, optics, and toured high-tech labs. This later led to her being presented with the prestigious academic awards, including the Seymour Schulich Academic Excellence Scholarship. Initially, her goal was to work in renewable energy until she discovered that there was space and aerospace opportunities in Alberta. At the end of 2021, she attended a trivia night hosted by Calgary to Space, where she learned about the group and their efforts to recruit new members. After winning trivia, Kaleigh joined the group as the systems engineering lead, where she oversaw design reviews, defined system requirements, and coordinated technical progress. She remained deeply involved in the technical side of the project for nearly 2 years before stepping into the role of president and becoming the public face of the team. Kaleigh successfully balanced her role as a president of Calgary to Space while completing her engineering studies in 2024. She then began a degree in biomedical engineering with a focus on human factors and an interest in applying this knowledge in the space and aerospace sectors. Currently, she's taking a break from her studies to work full-time with Lockheed Martin Skunk Works as a system engineer associate, supporting the development of mission-critical uncrewed vehicle control software. She continues to serve as the president of Calgary to Space, leading the team through their first satellite launch and into the early stages of their next satellite project.
Well, I'm excited to bring her on. Through the magic of video editing, should we bring her onto the set right now?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Welcome to our studio, and through the magic of editing, we're going to have you appear here on our podcast. But thank you so much for coming into Albertans in Space.
Thank you for having me.
I've always wanted to be a veterinarian, but I obviously went in a totally different direction. I went to film. What was your interest in space? Did it start when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but I learned about it from when I was like 4 years old, looking at picture books of planets and learning about black holes and things like that. And I just thought it was totally crazy that those things were out there. But as I grew up, I kind of realized that we're living in the space age. Like the internet, GPS, so many of the things that we rely on today rely on space technology. And so it's taken a little bit more of a practical turn as I've learned more about that stuff. But I'm still really interested in everything that's out there too.
So you came up, right during, I guess, when SpaceX was doing their launches and everything was coming up again. So Calgary to Space was kind of created in that era. Dan, can you tell us about Calgary to Space? What is it?
Yeah, so Calgary to Space was founded just about 5 years ago, and it's a student-led team of engineering students, science students, and also non-technical students. They had this goal to send something to space as students, and other students in Canada have accomplished that before, so they decided to go ahead and do that and be the first students in Calgary to do that. The way that they did that was they went and started looking at these things called CubeSats, which are basically these miniature satellites, and they're the choice for student teams because of how affordable they are. But it's really becoming an industry trend as well. Like, lots of companies are looking into using these things, making constellations of them. And yeah, they were able to find a researcher at UCalgary who was looking to put a miniaturized instrument up into space. He probably wasn't going to be able to put that in space otherwise. And so we kind of struck a collaboration with him and decided to volunteer thousands of our own hours to put his instrument into space. And other payloads have started getting added on, and the team has just blown up over the last few years to over 100 people.
That's so cool. 100 people.
Yeah.
Tell me about the constellation. So what does that mean?
Yeah, so a constellation basically means that there are multiple satellites in different orbits at different altitudes. If you're trying to study a specific kind of phenomenon around the Earth, like what we're looking at, which is called STEVE, then it's useful to be able to collect data at different points in it, because as you can imagine, the satellite just kind of passes through and it gets that one data point every time that it passes through it. So there are several constellations that exist. And, that is a goal that we have, is to make a constellation of our own satellites.
And these are real satellites here, right? So we're talking about people in their early 20s building things that make it to space.
Yes.
For real, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're very close now. The satellite has been built. It's passed its vibration test. It's qualified to go to space. We've purchased a launch on a SpaceX rocket, Transporter 15, and it's going to be going up this year.
Tell us about this satellite. What is it? What does it do? How is it made? We want to know.
Yeah. So I mentioned a phenomenon called Steve, and this was discovered right here in Alberta by people who were looking at the aurora. And they noticed this long purple ribbon that didn't really seem to look the same as what the aurora normally looks like. Mm-hmm. And so researchers at Calgary, they were looking at some data from the European Space Agency SWARM constellation, which is 3 satellites orbiting around. And they were able to correlate what people were seeing in the sky with what the data was being picked up from these European Space Agency satellites. And they realized that this was a different kind of phenomenon than the aurora. Okay. And it was kind of scary. They were like, I don't know what this is. So I don't know if you've seen the movie Over the Hedge. No. But when it's this animated movie, there's like these animals that are living near a city, and there's this hedge that pops up overnight. And they're all really mystified by it. And they're like, oh, what is that? It's so tall. It's so scary. And they decided to call it Steve to make it seem less threatening. So that's exactly what these researchers did. Unironically, they named it Steve. And NASA adopted that and formed a backronym. They called it Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement.
Another thing that film, contributed to space.
There you go. Yeah.
And our main professor on this, his name's Dr. Jonathan Burchill. He created this instrument, which is a sort of plasma imager, to go up and study Steve. He wasn't really sure how he was going to get this instrument into space, but when he heard about our project, he said, hey, would you be interested in hosting my payload? And it's kind of driven all of the mission requirements. And it's turned out to be quite complicated, as we can get into later. Then we had another researcher at Calgary named Nick Elderfield. And he was doing a PhD in composite material science. And he has created this interesting collapsible boom arm that can roll up onto a spool. But when it unspools, it's very stiff and it's very lightweight. And it had never been tested in space before. So similar idea. How is he going to get this thing into space? So he approached us and we agreed to fly it. Those are kind of the 2 main payloads that will be going up there. And we're going to support those researchers.
How does it feel to know that this is the first CubeSat designed by University of Calgary? And so where is the launch happening? It happens on the SpaceX launch pad in Texas, right?
It's in California. It's the Vandenberg Space Force Base. Where it's launching out of.
There's a few. There's a handful.
How does it feel?
It feels a little bit unreal. I don't think I've totally connected the idea that it's actually going into space. I've been working on this project for about 4 years now. When I first started, the team was small. We didn't have very much funding. We didn't have very much progress. It's really just grown so fast. And I think until it's in space and I actually hear back from the satellite, right. It just kind of is way out there for me.
And do you get to go to California to watch the launch?
Well, we've discussed it. It's possible that we might head down there, depending on if we know when it's going to be launching, right. And if it doesn't get delayed on the day and all that kind of thing. But there are some of our team that need to travel to the base to do the physical integration with the Falcon 9. So that's really exciting for them.
You've put your hands and you've touched these things that are like physically going to space. So you talked a bit about the instrumentation and they're going to hang out and check out Steve. What are they actually looking for? Because you're doing a mission. This is a space mission. What is the goal and what happens after it's in space?
Yeah, well, the answer to the research, as with much research, is Dr. Birchall really doesn't know what he's going to do with
Amazing.
the data.
We're going to find out when you get it? Okay.
Yeah, but he's, this plasma imager, it collects ionized particles, so he's going to be measuring their speed and their polarization using the sensors and things we have on board, and he's going to start building this picture of Steve to figure out what the heck it is. We don't know what the applications could be. It could be that there are applications for, that Steve might be causing interference in satellites, and that we could find a way to mitigate that.
So it's really, we're going to go up there and find out, just going to find out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mystery.
I know what a boom mic is for film.
Yes.
So is the lattice boom, like the same sort of shape? It's just like an arm.
Yeah,
Tell us about the lens.
it just comes straight out. So that is just a tech demo at this point because it's never been tested. But a lot of the times on satellites, you might want to deploy something really far away from the satellite, like a magnetometer, get it far away from the metallic body of the satellite so you don't get interference. Or maybe you want a really long selfie stick so you can take a.
Oh my God, the satellite can take a picture of itself?
Yeah.
That's so cute. Post it on IG.
Yeah. So if it doesn't snap off when it unfurls, then we might consider flying it again and actually trying to put something on the end of it.
So you're the president of Calgary to Space.
That's right.
And what lessons have you learned? What challenges have there been for you being the president, managing that world plus, your other extracurriculars and school?
Yeah, well, navigating regulatory things and finding the funding to actually do this, recruiting people and getting them to stick around for long enough to build the satellite, and finding a way to keep them engaged when we have very little direction, very little oversight. It's student-led, as I mentioned. It really takes a special kind of student to stick with the project over the long term, and we've been really fortunate that there have been so many people that have. But it was not always like that. As I said, when I joined, we had issues with leadership dropping out or turning over, and it's really thanks to the people that stuck with it the whole time that we've been able to get this far. But yeah, I mean, as far as convincing people that this is a real project and it's something that they should sponsor, something that they should give us money to actually do, that's been a pretty big challenge, I would say.
Do you feel like people have left the province to go other places once they've graduated, or do they feel like there's a limit to how far they can go in Alberta?
Well, in some cases, yes. I know that there are some people who are talking about making their own startups right here in Alberta related to CubeSat technology. Yeah. We already have somebody on our team who kind of has done that. It's in the pretty early stages. But yeah, we've had a few students who have gone on to work at like MDA Space, but there are also engineering companies right here in Calgary, like Hexagon is one of our sponsors. And we've had probably just as many students go on to work there. So it's kind of an even split, like working on GPS technology at a place like Hexagon. Calgary is a real center for that kind of thing. And making space instrumentation is one of UCalgary's specialties. So whether you want to move on into research or you want to work at an engineering company, there are those opportunities here. And there's Wyvern, and hopefully there will be more startups soon.
Yeah, more startup success stories. That's what we need.
So you talked about research and the U of C, building these instruments and the difficulty. I mean, in undergrads, 4 years, right? So people just move on and turn over just as a course of action. And some of these research projects can, always take years to collect data and go through the data. How do you see that research, moving forward? What does that look like? Like, will people just continue doing the research? What does that look like?
Well, Dr. Birchall is interested in continuing with these CubeSat initiatives with us, and he's currently on a tenure track. Okay. So he'll probably
be around, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be around for the long term.
So you're getting your first satellite, and then the idea is to build Calgary to Space almost like a small company or like a incubator lab. Is that what the idea?
Yeah, I mean, we've toyed with the idea of turning it into a real company or a startup, but ultimately we kind of decided that we like the approach of it being a volunteer, student-led endeavor, because we've been able to expose so many students to what it's like to work on a space mission, and we don't require any experience to be able to do that. And we want to continue on that track, but it absolutely is an incubator. Like, from visiting different companies across Canada, what we've heard time and time again is that founders such as Wyvern, also Kepler, those students gained their first space experience on CubeSat teams, doing end-to-end space missions at their local universities. So definitely seeing it as more of an incubator. And that's part of what the Canadian Space Agency is supporting with Dr. Burchell's research, that a big part of his project is to train students and build up a base of highly qualified personnel here in the West, where that doesn't currently exist. And so absolutely, that's how the CSA sees it, and that's how we see it.
I did my engineering classes, and I did my tests and read my textbooks. I never built the spacecraft. What is the difference, in your mind, of just doing the theory and doing the coursework to physically building something? Is that a step change? Is it completely different? What's that difference like?
Oh yeah, it's completely different. I mean, when there are real world requirements that you need to meet, and it's not just if you do 80% of the work, you get an 80% grade.
Right.
No, if you do 80% of the grade, the satellite doesn't work, and you've thrown $300,000 down the drain, and also Dr. Burchell's research and all the money that's gone into that.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the times CubeSats are these educational demonstrations where the students, they pick their own payload. It often is not something that is going to be of high cost, and it's not going to have all these technical requirements. Yeah.
It's not cheap work, but you gotta admire the passion and the energy that goes behind putting that kind of thing together.
And then all of the regulatory stuff on top of that as well. The licensing, the export permits, the controlled goods access. Not all of our team is even allowed to have access to our satellite because it has an unlocked GNSS receiver on board. And if you can track things moving at 27,000 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 510 kilometers, you can imagine why they don't want everybody having their hands
running into ITAR and export control issues in Calgary. So, this is you're at the level of international governments and mega corporations. This is where you're acting at right now.
This is not just a student club.
No,
no, you're doing more than that.
It started out as a student club and just kind of a vague idea where they had no idea everything that it was going to involve. I think the original president estimated, maybe we could do this on a budget of $5,000 or something. We just had no idea what he was getting into. And we didn't know we were even going to have a GNSS receiver on board. Not all CubeSats do. So that's another thing to meet a special requirement of Dr. Burchell's payload.
And and what does that do specifically? That just tracks the satellite?
So we will get position information from that, but that's not actually why we need it, because using two-line element data that's reported by NORAD, it's usually pretty easy to figure out where your satellite is. The orbit doesn't really change that much. It's moving at a pretty constant speed. But what is interesting is that in microgravity, you get clock drift because of general relativity. And this,
general relativity.
What?
Yeah. And
what's that?
Einstein's crowning achievement, the theory of general relativity, it basically says that when gravity changes, when the strength of the gravitational field changes, time changes as well. Time is a construct, but it's...
So in addition to doing your engineering degree, running the club, you've been doing international materials export, and now you're dealing with time travel?
Well, I wouldn't call it time travel, but the satellite is moving through time a little differently, and so we need a GPS to sync up the clock every few days or so.
Simple, easy. Anybody can do it.
Not me.
You've graduated from the U of C, correct?
That's right.
Congratulations. That was this year.
Good job. Yes.
Last year, 2024.
Last year?
Yeah.
2024 for our listeners.
And now you're working with Lockheed Martin. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but Lockheed Martin has a Skunk Works division in Canada, and it happens to be right here in Calgary.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's really been an interesting experience. We work on drone control software. basically. So I'm a systems engineering associate there, and I have the privilege of getting to be involved at the concept and the design and the integration and the testing.
And that happens all here in Calgary.
That's right.
That's crazy.
And this is just a summer job.
Well, I'll actually be here for 15 months until next summer, and then I'll go back to finish my master's degree.
Oh, fantastic. So you're working for a longer term, taking a gap year and not, doing what I did at 23 years old. And
well, we won't talk about what we were doing at 23 years old. That's a completely different podcast.
But that's amazing. And so then you're finishing your master's. Tell us about that.
So my master's degree is in biomedical engineering. Might seem kind of unrelated to my undergraduate in electrical, but it's actually a really great complement to that. There's lots of signal processing involved, and, the body gives off electrical signals, basically. So electrical engineering is a perfect match for that. Something that I was really interested in, even more so than that, is human factors engineering, which is huge in aerospace and in the military, because you need to be thinking about how humans are going to interact with complicated systems. And so that's really what piqued my interest, and that is why I'm doing what I'm doing with Lockheed right now.
I mean, we talked to Robert Thirsk about how complicated the space shuttle was and all the training they had to do just to operate that machinery. So is that what you're talking about in human interface?
Yeah, exactly. We don't always think about this kind of thing, but humans have perceptual limits. We have cognitive limits. If you're under a whole lot of stress and there's a bunch of things going on, you need to make sure that if there are alarms going off, that they're informative, but not distracting, but not easy to ignore, but, finding that balance of how do we actually make this something that a human is going to be able to use and not make a mistake.
So he was talking about how stressful the training was. He said going to space was easy. It was the training that was hard. So you're going to be designing the training to stress out future astronauts. Is that the goal?
Maybe one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your ultimate, goal? What do you want to be working on the next 10 years?
Honestly, it would be pretty cool if I could get into looking at whatever those UAPs are, unidentified aerial phenomena, I think is what they call it.
UAP.
Okay,
a new acronym.
Yeah, it's a new one for us. What
Not
we
UFO anymore? Was it?
That's right. It used to
previously
be called,
a UFO.
Used to be called UFO. So there's obviously a lot of mystery around what those things are, if they're even real. But if they are real, and if there's anybody who's currently working on that, then I think that would kind of be the epitome of what I could hope to work on in my life.
So you are going, you talked about checking out Steve, but we know Steve's there. You're talking about finding things that might not even be there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's something.
That is something.
Yeah, again, I don't obviously know very much about it. I don't think anybody does, except for if there's a secret program going on. But we do have a pretty large military base over in Medicine Hat with a huge restricted airspace. And so if they were going to be working on something like that in Canada, Alberta would be the perfect place to be doing that.
Can you just let us know if you do find something in the next little while?
Yeah, if you're working
we would love to talk to you about that and the previous.
If you start working in Alberta Area 51, we'll bring you back on. We'll have a clandestine set somewhere in an undisclosed location. We'll dive into that. That would be amazing.
Sure, yeah, if it ever happens.
I'm into it. Yes, tell us about the next satellite project.
Yeah, so as I was talking about before, we really don't want the team to just die with this first project and have all of our experienced people graduate. So we're tackling it early, where we've already recruited many new members last year to start working on conceptual design. We know that Dr. Burchell has committed to fly another one of his instruments on board, and we're currently reviewing payloads from other researchers. So we're considering sending beetles up, potentially.
Okay.
We might develop our own propulsion system. There's just really the possibilities are endless, and we're going to make some final decisions on that soon, and we're going to have our first design review by September, probably.
Are you talking about the band, the Beatles, or the bug, the Beatles?
The bug.
Set up an album up there and take a selfie with the album.
With the boom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think an album would actually even fit on the CubeSat. The CubeSat is 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter by 34
You got a CD.
An MP3
Yeah,
file.
MP3 file. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does someone, because you mentioned getting members, like who are you looking for to join Calgary to Space?
Well, we're looking for people who are willing to commit to it over the long term.
That's a tough call right there. That cuts out a lot of people. Okay.
And people who are really not only passionate about space and engineering, but we're not looking for people who are just interested in the momentary hype of it. We want people who really understand that it is not an exciting, glamorous thing to be doing the real engineering work.
Right.
If you're designing a PCB for a satellite, that's not really that much different than if you're designing a PCB for anything else. There are special requirements and things you have to meet, but that ends up being more of a pain than an excitement. And yeah, so just people who understand the reality of it and why something like this is feasible to be able to do, not just thinking that this is, some headline.
Right.
Empty.
So not looking for people chasing a headline on their resume. You want people looking to do the hard work and to sit with the problem, as you said.
Absolutely. Something that's kind of exciting is just that on the faceplate of the plasma imager, we have the names engraved of all the Calgary to Space members who worked on Sat-1 over the years. So that'll be really exciting for all of us.
Literally putting your name into space.
Yes.
Your names will be on a part of a constellation, which is really cool.
And then it'll burn up in the atmosphere when it comes back down. But
Nice little shooting star there.
go out in a blaze of glory.
Exactly.
So we are at the point of our podcast where we ask our guests to bring a book for our book club. And this is usually to learn something about themselves, something about their journey, and get to know them better. So we're going to don our book club hats.
I didn't tell you that there was a dress code for book club.
Book club hats. And we want to know, what book did you bring us to for our book club?
So the book that I chose is called The Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook. And that was a really important book for me to read because I used to be pretty hard on myself. And going through engineering school and working on a project like this, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to not know what you're doing, and it's not always going to feel great. I didn't know exactly how to deal with that until I realized, hey, maybe I should be treating myself the way that I would treat a friend.
Right.
And that's kind of what this book is all about. And it helps you to reflect on where you could be treating yourself better, which is so important if you want to be resilient through these kinds of challenges.
I had a similar experience. I was doing electrical engineering, working on projects, and we'd work through, the weekends and nights, and people would get tired, and we were busy building physical projects. And every once in a while, we wire something backwards, and you let the magic smoke out, and you can never put the magic smoke back in. And we had a rule, if you let the magic smoke out, you just go home, and you're making things worse for yourself. Go home, have a rest, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Try to put the magic smoke back in, but.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Tomorrow's a new day. Yeah, that's a fantastic motto. I think we could all be nicer to ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's a good book for anyone at any age, just to realize that space happens and it's all about moving forward. How are you going to approach the next challenge, and also give yourself a bit of a break because, the world is a little bit chaotic and there's only so much you can control. And one of those things is how you treat yourself. So
Absolutely.
great book for book club.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward.
We've come to the part in our interview where we do a segment that is a question that comes from one of our followers on social media, either through Instagram or through TikTok. And so we'll have our producer, Sandra Lynn, step in.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Okay, so today's question comes to us as a direct message on Instagram from Grims S. from Alton, Ontario. What aspect of space and learning about it do you think is the most important and impactful to humanity?
One of the things that I kind of alluded to before is that this is the space age, and technology that people use every single day relies on space infrastructure, and we don't even think about it. So I guess learning that space kind of has its hooks into everything, and it's everywhere. It's for everyone, and it's becoming increasingly democratized, there are student teams that are able to send a satellite to space. And most students, before hearing about our project, had no idea that that was even possible. So I think, people figuring out that space is so much closer than you might think, and that anybody can get involved, really.
I looked up something online about how if all the satellites crashed, like humanity would be just devastated.
I would not get my Uber in time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you remember the trivia question that you answered in order to win trivia night?
Well, there wasn't just one question.
Okay.
It was like a points system. Okay. So, I was answering a whole lot of different questions about how far away is Mars, what was the first, rover mission. Yeah. Just, there was a whole bunch of things, and I just ended up having the most points.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So I guess the lesson to learn there is go out to the pub more often and talk about space, and then things will happen.
Well, this was just coming out of COVID.
Okay, all right.
Kaleigh Beer Space was founded during COVID, actually, which, seems crazy. But yeah, a lot of the first work days were completely online, and so was the trivia night. So that was my first exposure to the team, was this online trivia session.
Oh, so it was online. Okay, I just had this idea that you guys were at a club or at the university.
We couldn't do it in COVID, but you're just making things happen. That's amazing.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Disappear.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us today. It was really great, and I'm really excited to see what Calgary to Space does in the future.
Me too.
And you do in the future with the UFOs. No, UAPs.
No.
The WTFs.
The WTFs.
I'm a WTF.
All right, season 3. We'll go look at the WTFs. All right, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Kaleigh. We would like to thank Kaleigh Beer for joining us today and showing us that Calgary to Space is more like a high-performing early-stage startup than a collection of students looking for extra credit to graduate.
If you'd like to keep up to date with Calgary to Space and their launch of FrontierSat in fall of 2025, check out their website, calgary2space.ca. Follow them on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Calgary2Space.
Shout out to Sandra Lynn for her writing research efforts, Matt Waterworth, our sound video engineer at No Cap Content Studios, his assistant Parth Kalkar, 6 Degrees Music and Sound, and Kristen, our behind-the-scenes photographer, for helping us make this podcast sound and look amazing. On the next episode of Albertans in Space, we speak with Regan Hinchcliffe, the Director of Development at Space Innovation Canada, and how Albertans are helping create a more sovereign space industry in Canada.
Thank you so much for watching Albertans in Space. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to tune to our socials to watch behind-the-scenes exclusive content. You can watch Albertans in Space on TELUS Optic TV, Stream Plus, and our YouTube channel. For those who prefer listening, catch us on Spotify. If you like the show, don't forget to hit subscribe and give us a like. Your support means the world to us. Lastly, stay connected. Follow and say hi to us on Instagram at AlbertansInSpace_podcast and on TikTok at AlbertansInSpace. That's it for today. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.